Hello everybody, my name is Alfalfa and today I'm going to be showing you how to aim. More specifically, how to control your recoil in Rainbow Six Siege. First things first, we need to understand the underlying mechanics behind shooting a weapon. There are two main components to think about when talking about how a weapon fires, one being recoil and the other being spread. Recoil is the amount of kickback inflicted on a weapon as a result of firing a projectile. This will cause the bullets to constantly raise higher if not compensated for. It's a very important thing to think about because if you don't know how to compensate for recoil, you're gonna have a bad time. Some of you may ask, why is learning about recoil so important, Alfalfa? All you need to do is pull down the mouse. The answer is very simple, just as much cliched. It's a skill that's easy to learn, yet hard to master. There are many factors that go into what makes a weapon's recoil, from distance to scope and other attachments, and even the weapon itself. If you look here, I'll display two different examples of recoil, one with a reflex sight and the other with an ACOG. Part of this mechanic is the visual representation of it on your screen. What you see directly affects what you do. While the reflex sight has barely any visual sway due to its one-time zoom, the ACOG seems to be jumping around everywhere, despite it being the same exact recoil pattern. This means that while an ACOG is key to long-range kills, it also requires a lot more control. I'm showing you this because it's only a single example of how the change of even a single attachment on your weapon can greatly affect your recoil. I plan on eventually going into detail on each attachment and what it does and what you should do with them for any situation in another video. Now on to spread. It's short and sweet really. Spread is the random pattern put into place at each point during recoil. This means that while recoil can be controlled, there's no way to get your aim 100% accurate 100% of the time. And that's okay, because we can still get it pretty darn close. Now that we know what recoil and spread are, we can proceed on to practicing them. What I personally do is set up a custom game. I give the round timer the maximum amount of time possible, while lowering the time on the prep phase to 15 seconds, and increasing the character select screen to 45 seconds. Select a map that has a lot of light, and make sure it's set to daytime. Once you get in, select any character that you want and put any attachments that you desire for the weapon onto it. Once you spawn, find a wall where it'll be easy to see your bullet holes when you shoot it and let loose on it. The main thing is to get the feel of exactly how much and in what direction you need to pull down on your mouse. Many weapons at Siege don't require a lot in short to medium distances, but some still will. You should do this until you feel you're comfortable with how the weapon feels, and then move on to another character and weapon. Keep in mind that practicing too many different characters and weapons at the same time may cause confusion and not really help you too much, so it may be best to stick with two operators, one attacking and one defending. One thing to note while you're practicing recoil is to make sure you know the pattern. This can be seen if you aim down the sights at a wall and unload the entire magazine without moving the mouse. As you can see, these three different weapons vary in unique ways. All of them are assault rifles, yet they each move in their own direction, while also having their own amount of kick. If you see a weapon's bullets are a bit more vertically spread out, you should use a bit more force when pulling down to counteract it. If you see a pattern moving in a specific direction, such as up and to the right, you should be pulling in the opposite direction, down and to the left. Now, we know that automatic weapons such as assault rifles, SMGs, and LMGs have recoil patterns each to their own. But what about semi-automatic weapons? Of course they do. Every weapon in this game has its own recoil pattern, ranging from the operator's automatic weapon all the way to its pistol. If you look at this, even the Desert Eagle has a recoil pattern, though very large. This can also be compensated for, and I highly recommend practicing your pistols. Depending on which one, a perfectly practiced pistol can be even deadlier than the highest rate of fire weapon in the game. Once you understand the recoil of a couple weapons, it'll be time to try them out. No, this does not mean jump right into matchmaking. Well, you could. I'm not stopping you, but it's really not a good idea. Instead, what you should do, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot if you're like me and have listened to many other big Siege content creators, is go into terrorist hunt. There's a specific way that you should go about this, however. Instead of taking your time, droning, and carefully killing each enemy, I want you to bust down those doors and walls and kill every single one of them in classic terrorist hunt as fast as you possibly can. You will die, over and over again. But this is the most concrete way of teaching yourself how to aim and compensate for recoil. Why? Because when you're moving as fast as Keemstar on his daily run, you'll need to be able to use split-second intuition. This means over time, after each and every failure, you will hone your quick aiming and shooting that much more. Nothing is more important than being able to adapt to a situation where you don't know what's going to happen. While Siege is a very heavily information-gathering shooter, there are going to be times where you don't know if somebody is there. You can't be on your drone 100% of the time. This is especially for matchmaking, solo and duo queue. You will need to learn how to adapt to the situation of an enemy suddenly appearing in front of you and trying to kill you. One thing that I could say for sure, on top of practicing your quick aiming, is that you need to be aiming for the head at all times. Aiming at the head is a key part of Siege, and while it usually takes 4 or 5 shots to down or kill a player while aiming at the body, only a single shot to the head will instantly kill a player. This is significant. This means that not only is it less dangerous, but it also takes less time to complete. While this may be minuscule, even milliseconds will make or break a successful rotation or position change in order to take care of a second enemy coming your way. The easiest way to practice this is to first make sure you're always aiming at head level, and second, it might be a good idea to warm up on it by single-shotting for a while. This will make it easier for you to naturally do the motions it takes to flick your cursor to an enemy's head when they suddenly appear on your screen. And that pretty much wraps up this tutorial on aiming and recoil. As a conclusionary statement, what we've gone through is what recoil and spread are, how to practice your recoil control, how to apply your recoil control in the context of a live situation, and how to create your own custom lobby to practice your recoil control. I hope that you've learned something from this, as I want to give back to a community that's given me something great to play and experience. I thank you very much for taking the time to watch this, and if you enjoyed this video, please comment and subscribe for more tutorials on Rainbow Six Siege. Alpha, out.